Hello, and now I'll be showcasing a few varieties from Prudac. And just as a general comment, these Prudac varieties are one of the most compact tomato varieties that I've seen. And they're all really acceptable for hydroponic systems or to be grown in a small pot with substrate indoors. Over here, we have Catch Red and Catch Yellow. Catch Red maintains the same compact growth habit in the greenhouse and indoors. And the same can be said about Catch Yellow. However, Catch Red produces red fruits, while Catch Yellow produces yellow fruits. They're both early yielding and early ripening. Over here, we have Heartbreaker's Twiggy Red. The Heartbreaker series, which we're growing several of them, is actually compact and also maintain the same growth habit in the greenhouse and indoors. Over here, we have Paunchy Me. Paunchy Me is one of 4 in the musical series by Prudac. Paunchy Me also maintains the same growth habit in the greenhouse and indoors. Paunchy Me is one of the smaller ones indoors compared to the rest over here. I think this would be very great for a smaller hydroponic system in somebody's house who has limited space to grow in, or in a smaller pot than what I'm growing in here. And over here is one of the slightly larger varieties compared to the rest. This is Sweet and Sturdy Joe from the Sweet and Sturdy series. Over here we have the plant grown in the greenhouse and the one grown indoors. They both experience the same growth habit in these 2 different environments. And something special about this one is the fact that it produces slightly larger fruit compared to that of these varieties over here. This variety by Prudac is called Donna Yellow. This one I originally grew in the greenhouse in an 8-inch azalea pot, but eventually around 5 weeks, it became way too big for that pot and was transplanted in something bigger. Donna Yellow is a more of a trailing variety. So this would be great for a hanging basket. Something very special about Donna Yellow is the fact that it's one of the earliest ripening tomatoes compared to other cultivars that I've grown, which is very interesting because it's also one of larger varieties as well. This Donna Yellow was grown indoors. Indoors, it behaves a little differently. It's a bit smaller indoors, and I would say this would be the cutoff for the size that you would want in an indoor hydroponic system or indoors in a small pot with substrate.
Now we'll be highlighting 3 of the cultivars from Prudac. These are pepper cultivars. They were grown in both environments. We have Spicy Jane right here. We can clearly see that for this particular cultivars, there was a difference when the plants were grown in the greenhouse and indoors. The greenhouse plants were slightly bigger. With Spicy Jane, this is a plant that will produce red, colorful fruit. It's early ripening. With the indoor plant, we can see some color in the fruit already. It is a spicy pepper. And one particular characteristic for Spicy Jane is that the fruit stands up. It's pointing outwards. It's also a very productive plant, but because it's very productive, it also needs a support system to hold the weight of all that fruit. And we're now going to move on to Sweet Yellow. This is a pepper that produces medium-sized fruit compared to a lot of the other compact peppers that we grew. It produces this very nice, slim yellow fruit, and it's a sweet pepper, so that's something that makes it attractive. Because what we see is that a lot of the compact plants are hot peppers. This is one of those that produces this sweet fruit, and it's a compact plant. Indoors, it maintains a little bit more of that compact growth habit compared to the greenhouse plant that looks more of a tall plant, but it looks nice when grown in the 2 different environments. And now we have Mimi Red. Mimi Red was only grown in the greenhouse, and that is because it was supposed to be a bigger plant than others. What we noticed though is that even if it was grown in this 5-gallon containers, it still maintained a somewhat compact growth habit compared to a lot of the other peppers that were grown in the larger containers. One very interesting and unique characteristic about Mimi Red is that the fruit grow very close to the stem. So it's very interesting as the fruit is developing and as the plant's producing flowers, that you see lots of flowers near the main stem of a plant as opposed to the lateral branches. And as you can see, it could be considered an early yielding cultivar as well. We see some color, and consumers would most likely be able to have multiple harvests from this plant.
Perfect. So that is the video from Prudac, the cultivars that we decided to highlight. And with that, I'm going to introduce Kirsten DeLong. She's the marketing manager at Pure Line Seeds, and she also focuses on product development for new vegetable varieties. Over the last few years, Pure Line Seeds has become the distribution arm for Prudac in North America. And more importantly, they work with Prudac to trial and select new vegetables for the home consumer and greenhouse grower. Kirsten enjoys seeing others get excited about the possibilities with the new varieties, especially by her strongest critics, her green thumb mother, aunts, and grandmother. So welcome, Kirsten.
Thank you. All right, share my screen here. Can you see it? Perfect. All right. Close this out a little bit. Okay, so as Lena said, I'm Kirsten, and I do represent Prudac in North America here. Just a little bit about Prudac. If you're wondering what the name stands for, Prudac stands for Production and Research for Urban Decoration and Consumption. And you can see within our mission that some of our breeding goals include strength, uniformity, low labor input, and fast crop times. And I would also add to that a very compact plant, as you guys saw within the presentation. And this isn't just in our smaller pot sizes, but also in our larger pot sizes. And also, I would definitely say taste as well. Even though they are compact, our breeders do really focus on something that's tasty. So it's not just something that's good to look at, but we've had a lot of consumers comment on the great taste as well. So just one of the key, I would say, unique features that I wanted to point out was within our breeding, the immature fruit is often a light or a pale green color. So you can see on the left side, the two pictures, Ponky Peppers, Spicy Jane, and Heartbreaker Dora. You can see that the fruit is really light colored compared to maybe a traditional plant. And that's really great for the consumer, because then when they see this, and maybe it's an all immature plant still, but it has fully grown fruit, it's just not fully ripe yet, the consumer is automatically going to know what kind of crop it is. And also they're just going to see, wow, look at all this fruit. And whether it's more fruit or not, it just shows itself a lot better. And this is also better for the greenhouse grower who may be producing these plants, because they can ship these out quite a bit faster, because they don't have to wait for red fruit to come on. They can ship out the plant sometimes up to 2 weeks earlier, just because immature fruit shows itself much better. And you can see the difference on the third picture, the pillar pepper galaxy red. You can see there's a few darker green, and so that's just, it doesn't show as well in contrast. And then just a little table here to show that some of the varieties are more bred for that pale green immature fruit color to mature to maybe a red or orange or yellow. So just an overview of what this presentation will look like. All of the genetics at Prudac can basically be summed up into 3 categories, which would be 4 to 6 inch pots, 6 to 8 inch pots, and 8 to 10 inch pots. And then within that, there's a variety of different crops. So that'd be tomatoes, peppers, brassicas, alliums, and edible violas. So just jumping right into the first group, the 4 to 6 inch pots, these are obviously our smallest pot range, and you saw a lot of that in the presentation. These are meant for the tabletop or on the kitchen counter, windowsill, and really the goal too with these is just experience oriented for the consumer. So they bring it home, they enjoy it, it makes memories, they maybe pick a fruit produce, and then they repeat. And also we really see this as a great opportunity for consumers to give this as gifts. so they can pick it up and then give it as a nice gift to somebody. So it's just a lot of experience around that. Target market for this would be box stores and grocery stores. And some of the main highlights are they are very compact. Support isn't needed on most of these. No pinching or pruning required. They are bred to stay small. And it is quick to market time. So you really get a good turnaround on your investment. So you can grow them from seed to mature plant quickly. And then a lot of these are selected for their shipping quality so that they don't drop the fruits or their leaves. But like I said, these are still tasty. Like even in this picture, this is Panchi Mi, and this very tiny, but also packs a lot of flavor. And in most of the varieties we'll be looking at, there usually comes in 3 different colors within a series. So if it is one plant type, it should have a red, yellow, or orange. So just some of the varieties used is, the first is the Panchi series, and this is the musical series, and they are very cute and small, and they do finish at about 3 to 5 inches tall. And next is our Mini Pepper, the Pillar Pepper Mini. This comes in orange and red, and you can see that the fruit is very close to the stem. It is a very strong stem in a small plant. Then a Heartbreaker Twiggy. We have a Heartbreaker series, which just means the fruit is shaped like a heart. And this is our smallest of that series. And in this, we have an orange and a red. And then we have our Pillar Pepper Galaxy. This is one of our newest varieties. It is just packed with fruit, as you can see. This is definitely one of my favorite varieties. And actually, we've had this variety tested with NASA, the Kennedy International Space Station in Florida. And they've been testing this under LED lights, and just to see if it can still produce fruit under such extreme circumstances and then still look nice. And it's done very well. And you can see it comes in 3 colors. And last is our Baby Cauliflower. This is also one of my favorite varieties. This can be grown in a small container or even out in the garden. So it's very dual purpose, but it does stay very compact. And it has a very quick growing time, so about 40 days from a young plant, and both the curd and the leaves are edible. Next, we'll look at our 6 to 8 inch pots. So these are just slightly larger. They're our mid-range size. Same thing, the smaller size, the 6 inch, are going to be really good for tabletop or indoor spaces. And then the larger sizes are going to be very good for patio containers and garden spaces. So target market, box stores, and garden retailers. And a lot of the highlights are going to be the same. Even if the plants, they can go in a bigger pot, they're still a compact plant. So, you know, even if it fits an 8 inch pot, there's not too much foliage. That's one thing about our genetics that we really love, is that they don't get too leggy or a lot of green foliage, but instead they still stay small, even though the plant itself might be a little bigger in the series. So same thing, it doesn't require any pinching or pruning for these, so very low labor, but cages may be required for some of the bigger sizes. And there's some very flavorful varieties in here. In this series I'll show you. And yeah, there's just a lot of fruit, so you'll see there's quite a high yield in these. So some of these varieties, and we break these down into 2 different models. On the left-hand side, you can see that these are hanging or branching or trailing types. So they are just a little bit more, they look a little bit more weeping, or they might trail over the pot a little bit. And then on the right, you see more of our upright types. So they grow a little bit more taller and slender, and they may be better suited for indoor growing. So on this hanging basket side, the first is Heartbreaker Dora. This is probably one of my favorites for the larger container, like an 8 inch container. That it's, as you can see, it's a big plant, but it's still very compact into that pot. So it's not too vigorous or too leggy. And this is in our Heartbreaker series, so that heart shape fruit. And you can just see it's just loaded with fruit that's not hidden behind the leaves. And then our Heartbreaker Vita. This one's also in our Heartbreaker series. It's a bit more branchy, and it does have a Brix about 8, so good flavor on this. And then Tarzan, this one is a more branchy type as well. It's going to need some support, but it's one of our larger fruit sizes. This is a 30 to 60 gram, and it works very well for slicing or putting on tomatoes. So it's still a compact plant, but it does put on some good fruit size. And then next we'll go to the right-hand side, the upright types. The first is our Sweet and Sturdy series. We saw one Joe in the video previous. This is Sweet and Sturdy Grace, this first one, the yellow fruited one. This one is very flavorful. It's very attractive and also ships great. We've seen this one ship quite a bit and it does a great job. And you can see it also put together with the Sweet and Sturdy Joe, so it just makes a good companion with other colors as well. Sweet and Sturdy Joe, similar to the Grace, a lot of flavor and compact. And then our pillar peppers, the Sweet series. So we saw the sweet yellow in the video prior, and this one we do really like because of it is a sweet pepper and it does taste a lot like a bell pepper. So this comes in 3 colors, the yellow, orange, and red. And next, this is our biggest pot size, our 8 to 10 inch pots and baskets. Most of these are more of a basket type, so these are going to be even more trailing or weeping. But you can see with these that they do have a large fruit set and the fruit is outside the pot. So same thing, this is going to be great for box stores and garden retailers. And we do recommend with these larger types, the 8 to 10 inch pots and baskets, to place 3 plants within a pot, so then you can get to market quicker. So even though that these are bigger, they're, like I said, they're not super vegetative. So adding a few more plants in there will help you get to market a little bit quicker, get that plant looking a bit more full. And these also come in multiple different colors within the series. So the first one here is Heartbreaker Valerie. This is the picture we saw before. So you can see this is the largest of our Heartbreaker series. It is heart-shaped and there's a lot of fruit hanging on there. And this is a good example of the pale green color immature fruit. So you can just see how that really distinguishes itself from the plant. And on that note too, you can see within a lot of our genetics, the leaf size is pretty small as well, so that it doesn't cover up the fruit, so the consumer can see the yield. And next is our Donna. Donna is an early variety and it is very sweet and very productive. So this comes in yellow and red. And then we have our Ponky peppers. This one is a really fun hanging basket type. This one looks great with a few other plants, maybe a different flower or maybe a tomato inside. It just trails really, really nice. And this one has that light green immature fruit that turns to red, and it is quite spicy. And then lastly, our newest peppers in our series, this is the Peppers from Heaven. These come in orange, red, and yellow, and it's more of a compact trailing type. So this one's quite attractive and high yields, as you can see. So one other thing I wanted to point out that we do offer is plant tags. And these plant tags, we feel they're great sales support within any program. They're really eye-catching on young plants. So you can ship out a plant and it might be younger, but you have the tag on there that the consumer can know, okay, this is what it's going to look like. And also beyond that, it'll help them know, okay, how do I care for this plant? Because on the back side, we do put information to help the consumer know exactly what to water, how much sunlight it needs. So it's really foolproof for them. And then also, if it's of interest to any growers, we do allow for fully customization on the back of the tag with design or logo. And if you want more information, we definitely recommend, if you are in North America, to contact us, Pure Seeds, or if you're in Europe, to contact Prudac on these plant tags. And once again, my name is Kirsten, and thank you so much for joining. If you have any more questions about Prudac and then even just Pureline and how we're working here in the States, I would love to hear them. Thank you so much.